because we're freaking live.
Oh, really?
I said 8, and I'm doing 8. We'll do it live.
As I eat my mac and cheese hamburger.
Dude, I'm hungry. Don't even.
It's so good.
Don't even. Like hamburger helper?
No, it's like homemade mac and cheese, but it's made with a special kind of pasta. Chickpea pasta. So it's like protein.
I'm good.
It's made. It's like protein, pasta, and then it has ground beef in it. So it's pretty good. Homemade though.
I need a new webcam.
You're a bit blurry.
This thing's so old. Hold on.
Excuse me. Oh, dude. Oh, hey,
better.
It actually looks.
It looks so much
better. Wow.
I don't know if that's what it worked. If it was the spit or what.
I'm just saying it worked. Whatever you did.
It did work. Oh gosh. All right, we are live. Go ahead and share it to the world, John.
Wait, what am I sharing?
I don't know. That we're live.
Oh,
we
we're
need
live.
to post it on Discord more and stuff. I'm already getting interrupted. You ready for this? Already interrupted. What's up, bud?
Oh, by your kids.
Yeah.
Hey, this is a chill stream.
Bye.
Get out.
Car.
It's like that guy that was in the meeting.
Get the spoon.
The kid crawls in, and they're like little baby walker in the background, and then the ninja lady,
Dude,
the ninja nanny.
So that was his wife.
Was that his wife?
That was his wife.
Oh, I thought it was like his nanny.
Nope. That was a funny video, though. He got in a lot of trouble.
That is funny.
I've had that happen a couple times, though, where things have kind of gone awry.
Hey, did you
have walked in? You just kind of be like, "Hey, these are my kids."
Did you share Ben the link?
Not yet. You can send him the link. I told him to be ready to jump on around 8:30. So anyone that, so thanks for the retweet, John. Maximum effort.
You said it so well. I mean, what else?
It's true. I was pretty succinct, and it was just straight to the point. And it's all everyone needed to know.
I understand. I am wearing pants, so don't worry.
Well, I am not. So that makes one of us.
That's better.
Sorry, everybody. We're a little all over the place right now. I just jumped out of the shower. I had my son's first soccer practice tonight, and I'm the head coach, so
you got that position, huh?
I've been the head coach for his soccer teams for the last 4 years now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about
that. It's fun, but it's busy and it's a lot of work, so I had to book it back here to make sure I was on in time, and even then, I was a couple minutes late. But that's okay. So today, let us turn up the beat. We're going to talk about, I want to say Bloodborne every time. Borbane.
Borbane?
Borbane.
Yeah, so what do you think of it?
We figured we'd do our first review today of like an official comic. That's not our own, but we're going to talk about Borbane. I got numero uno here, variant numero uno. Man, that looks so much better in the webcam than it does in my actual eyes.
Really?
Something's wrong with my eyes. I can barely see I'm like looking at it right now. I'm like, I can't see any detail. And then I do this, and I was like, oh, that's what the cover looks like.
Yeah, that's the variant.
I just see all the details. Like, oh, there's things underneath him. I was just viewing it in such low lighting.
It's amazing what your camera can do when you spit on it.
Yeah, just a little spit take, all it takes.
Spit
so
shot.
First off, I wanted to read issue 2 as well because you gave me both issue 1 and issue 2.
Yes.
But this is by what's his name again? Oh, it's not even on the front. Where is it? You know his name. Justin B. Acosta and Renik That how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Renique?
Yeah, I don't know how to use
Because
pronounce
it's
it.
French, I believe. Le Virt. I don't know, something like that. Illustrated, inked, colored, and lettered by. Dadgum. He pulled a
He did
pulled a
everything.
Gabriel.
Dude.
My artist.
Excuse me. I actually hit him up. I called him Enrique or something. Riviere
That's
or
not it.
something. Yeah. I hit him
Hey,
up to do a
Enrique.
cover, I think,
Yeah.
and I was like, I just never got around to actually using him. But he,
Yeah, the
good
funny
art.
thing is, you handed me this, and I hadn't read it yet, and I hadn't even heard of it yet. And then I read that name, and I was like, that sounds familiar. And I forgot I had been following him on Instagram and Twitter for a while now, and I think I even went to commission him for not a cover, but like a full book. I forgot what the story was that I was going to commission him for or hire him for. Because Pigman, yeah, I could. Because it was looking at his portfolio, his artwork is nuts. It's so he has the combination of hyper realistic and then like more fantasy and stylized. He can do man, he can do some good work. So anyway, that's when you gave me this and I opened it up and I was like, holy crap, it's him. So I could actually, because the interesting thing about him is I was on his portfolio and his art station and everything, which is normally how I hire people. I'll research and then go through what previous work, and I hadn't seen, and it makes me wonder if Justin didn't want him to post anything. You know what I mean? Like on his art station or anything, because there was nothing about Borbane.
Oh,
huh? Yeah,
that's interesting.
On the artist page. So that's why I had never connected the dots that he did this book. But I mean, it's really cool. I like the so the story is really cool. I mean, feel free. You're much more familiar than I am. I didn't read issue 2 yet, but
yeah, no. So what captivated me about the story and everything was, first of all, I related to him right off the bat because I'm a hunter. So I saw that he hunts boar. I think as a profession, if I'm not mistaken, it's like a side gig he does in Texas. So kind of drew me in right off the bat, something in common. And so I saw his book and he was explaining it on the live stream I caught him on. And he was talking about how he took from, his pack of dogs that he uses to hunt boar, and he created this whole world around it. Right. And I saw some of the art and I was like, oh, wow. So he kind of genetically altered and, made these these dogs, man's best friend. He gave them personality. He gave them human characteristics. And then, post-apocalyptic, the boars genetically blow up and become these super intelligent creatures that are terrorizing the world. And he has to use his dogs to fight them and to, kind of bring balance back into this post-apocalyptic world. And I loved that he took from his own life. He took from, I actually felt like I knew his dogs in real life through the dogs in the comic. And that was really cool kind of connection to have with those dogs and those characters. So he did a great job at kind of combining his world and our world with a fantasy world, post-apocalyptic, and bringing you in to also not only the story but also into his life, which I don't know, that just he did such a good job at it. The art is beautiful, lettering is great, and that's what drew me into it. And I have bought a lot of indie comics, and I would say his is on my top of the list for indie comics that I've read.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked it. It is really cool. Some of the pages are pretty sweet. Some of it is some of it kind of reminds me of like a ninja. I got more adult or more mature Ninja Turtle vibes.
Yeah.
Almost like the dogs were like the Ninja Turtles, and he, because there's the human male is in there, and then they're fighting the boars, which gave me a big a Rocksteady or Bebop vibe. So that was something that I was enjoying about it. But just these massive machine guns and axes and swords. It's pretty cool. I did like it. I like the lettering. There's a couple areas like, I'm more on the, like I read something and then I'll just kind of go over it and I'll praise it because it is really awesome. There's some areas where it's like, okay, I think it's a little too dark in some panels. It could be brightened up a little bit, but just to allow a little more detail through. But then again, like a lot of the artists, I've seen a lot of the artists' work, and a lot of his work is kind of like more dark and moody. I think that's just where he's comfortable at. But it's not bad. It's not a bad thing. But it's just there's a couple areas where I'm like, okay, we could have seen a little more detail here. But man, yeah, it's a freaking cool comic. I want to read issue 2. I wanted to read it before we started. Like that right there, I was kind of trying to speed read it, but like right there now I'm just noticing the detail in this page. Just some cool gore and stuff. So but yeah, it's pretty sweet. I liked it a lot. I wanted to get through issue 2 as well before tonight, but I wasn't able to. But I'm really looking forward to.
I want to keep going. I need to get with Justin and see where he's at on issue 3, or if he's going to continue with it. I do know it looked like he was actually working on a whole different series or something. I think I saw like an Indian character that he had posted up. Looked really cool and kind of gave me the inclination that he might be doing something different right now. So I don't know. I'll get with him and see what he's doing. But when when the next issue comes out,
that
or whatever,
issue 3 was in Kickstarter, was being advertised to go live on Kickstarter soon.
It might be.
I saw that. Let me look at it. think so. We could always, I would recommend everyone go and check that out
on Facebook. Says, Hi, John. Oh, thank you. Podunk Comics on Facebook is
I like the name too.
I know Podunk. I love it, man. It just fits with.
It's good.
It just fits with. What's up, Andrew? Thanks for watching, man. But yeah, no, I think it's really cool. I mean, he's got 2,000 followers. So he's got quite a bit. And what's funny is the people who are like following and looking into this were diehard followers. Like I realized that a lot of people can have 2 to 10K followers, and like nobody's showing up, right?
Yeah.
With him, it seemed like people like were really into his stuff, and that was really cool to see. I'm not watching a video that's on the site. So yeah, I don't know, man. So he did post a couple days ago, so he's still active on his Facebook page. But,
yeah, it's a cool book. I would highly recommend checking it out. Bourbane, not Bloodborne, which I have said in my head multiple times. So Bourbane. Check out Bourbane. Also check out Bloodborne. Great game. I'm a little all over the place, but yeah, it's just a quick little review of it. But it's really cool. I'm looking forward to. I have issue 2, so I'm going to read that as soon as I can, as soon as I have time, and then I'm probably definitely going to back the campaign. So I just broke my headphones. Yeah. Those are cool.
Did you just drop my book? That's the variant cover, bro.
I dropped my $100 PS5 headset. So
I don't care.
Better than your book. Whoops. Anyway, so we're gonna have Ben Gibbons on in a little bit, about 10 minutes. So until then, we can fluff around for a minute because it's just a quick review. But I had a meeting with my artists, so I met with Gabriel and Serial. I didn't just say cereal, did I? I'm trying to get his name down.
I feel like you said cereal.
I think I said cereal. Sergio, but I'm trying to get the name pronunciation down. But we met with them yesterday. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how many meetings you've had with your team, but like, man, I left that meeting just like hyped. I was super pumped because we had like a decent amount of the nice. There you go. Glad we can keep you entertained.
Sample pages. I want to know what.
Yeah, we need to see them.
Kind of,
right? Next week, bring the sample pages on so we can have you on. How about that? That'll work. But
I apologize. I am so freaking hungry, dude.
dude, I'm starving too. But that's all right.
How do you eat chicken? You just like grab it with your hands and like.
No, I use a fork like a civilized person.
Yeah, I'm not civilized.
I really do, but I think it's my autism. I don't like touching things.
Now I just don't know what to do with this.
I really don't. I don't like
my
touching
pants.
things. Nope, that's triggering me. Stop it. I don't like it. So I have to have like a fork, and then after I get some on my hand, I go wash my hands. Anyway, thanks for revealing that about me, John. Thank you. Good.
And you
So-
can see things with your brain.
We had I have so many mental problems. We had a really good meeting though, and like one thing, we set up like a nice schedule, so I can give you guys like a bit of a schedule that I'm really pumped for. But we have October 1st, Artificial 1, the Second Chance campaign will go live on Indiegogo. Super excited about that with that exclusive cover. Highly recommend going and checking it out and signing up for the pre-launch and all that good stuff. That's going to be the official cover. If you go to a convention, we've announced this before, we're going to go to conventions and stuff like that. If you go to a con and see us there and see Artificial #1, it's going to be that cover because I love it so much. So that's the new official cover, is what's going to be on the Second Chance campaign. And then that's going to run from October 1st to the end of the month. And then while that's running, I'm going to have the team work on Artificial 2. And we're going to try and finish Artificial 2 between October 1st and the end of November. So 2 months. We're going to try and finish a 34-page book in 2 months. And then kick off the Kickstarter for Artificial 2 December 1st. So that is the plan. That way you guys can get a nice Christmas gift. Obviously, it won't be there for Christmas, sorry. But at least you can say, hey, I got you this for Christmas. I don't know if that's a thing. But a lot of things you can do with that. And that way, hopefully, our first con, which is in January, I think it's January 7th. Hopefully, our first con will have both Wingless 1, Last One 1, Last One 2, Artificial 1, and Artificial 2. All physical in-hand copies. So I'm super pumped for that. It's going to be a freaking nuts busy end of the month or end of the year. But we were kind of pumped at the end of that meeting, though, because we were like setting forth like a whole game plan on how to get everything done. So hopefully I'll have an extra comic done by the end of the year. I'm really excited. But Ziggy will be happy, I hope. I hope you're happy, Ziggy. I'm working hard for you.
I am. We are. Let's see. We're 16 pages into the lettering. So
for which one? Last one 2 or 0?
Last one 2. Yep. So
cool.
It's looking pretty good so far. I like the way the story and everything flows, because the fight scene, which is pretty much 80%
of the comic, right?
Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it's got the dialogue in it, right? Of going back and forth and stuff like that between the characters, but it's like it's not a lot. So you're actually really you're getting that kind of like input about what's going on, getting a little bit of information, but you're like intent. Like I was actually going through the book and I'm like, man, this is like the way it flows and everything. I just didn't want too much dialogue, and I wanted it to be just kind of that, you're in a fight. You're not like having full on conversations. It's intense.
That was my whole point with Artificial 1 was that. But then I started second guessing myself. I was like, maybe I should have more dialogue. But then I was like, no, that it doesn't make sense for there to be. I'm not going to force dialogue, basically.
Exactly.
I'd rather just have a flow of action. So yeah, that's cool. I can't wait. And it's funny. I wanted to bring this up every time in my meeting, if I ever bring you up or whatever with my artist, and I'm like, John, I was like, hopefully John is gonna have Wingless 1 done. I was like, that's gonna be cool. Gabriel, every time will go, oh, that's the one, the bird with no wings, right? And I die every time because he loved that live stream that podcast episode, so he watched it, and now that's a new inside joke for him.
That was so funny. That's as far as I got after 20 minutes of trying to explain the story. We didn't get past a bird with no wings.
I mean, that's it.
It's so much.
If you wanted a shorter like tagline, you couldn't get one. Just bird with no wings. It's perfect.
A bird with
But
no wings.
anyway, it makes me laugh every time. He just says it that way, and then he says it with like a grin too. He's like, "It's a bird with no wings, right?" Like, yeah, Gabriel, it is. We love you, Gabriel. So
issue 2,
if you want,
winged.
huh? Yeah, yeah. More wing.
Yeah, more wings. 2 wings.
More wings.
Winged.
Winged. But yeah, so I'm excited for that. And then your projects are coming along pretty well, right? You still plan on having Wingless and the last one too, hopefully done by the end of the year, maybe?
Yeah, that's the goal, is to get both of them done, and at least I'm possibly, honestly, oh, nice.
I'd like to see that, man. I want to see that. It looked cool from what you showed me. Ivan the
Dude.
Faceless.
I
had an idea
I
for a
don't
freaking Viking one too, but now you stole that thunder from me. I was like, I'm giving it to you because it sounds cool. I don't want to make it my own little Viking thing. I'm excited for that.
That all came from, like, I don't know, man. Like, I wanted to write a comic book based off of autism, because I know a few people with autism. Yeah, you being one of them. And there's different levels of autism and things like that. And I've always found that so fascinating.
For sure.
Because brilliant minds, some of the autistic kids are just brilliant, and so but they're trapped inside of this almost emotionless, face, and almost sad in a way. And so it was funny because I was watching a Viking show, and I was like, the wheels started turning. I think I was just done talking about or watching a show about an autistic kid and what he could do, and then I switched over to the Viking show, and then I was like, what if I did like an autistic Viking? And then I was like, and then I just started creating this whole world in this story. And like, what if I got into the Viking mythology, and it just spiraled out of control to where, we got Ivan the Faceless. So it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, my sister, like, I joke about it, kind of, but my sister's into like special needs teaching and stuff. She has her master, and she has studied all this stuff on there. And I remember like telling her all these things that I think about or I experience, or I'm like, man, I have issues with that. I don't like like all this stuff. And she goes, and I made the joke. I was like, I think I might have autism. And she deadpan was like, no, you do. I was like, what? And she goes,
yeah,
no. She's like, it's you're high performing. You're very high functioning. She's like, but you definitely are on the spectrum. She's like, I've seen you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thank you.
I've seen you.
So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Ivan the Faceless looks sweet. Dude, I had before we get Ben in here, I just sent him the invite. So I don't know if I think he joins and then we can allow him in. I think that's how it works. But
yeah, he'll come in
as soon as he gets in here, we'll bring him in. But before he does, I tweeted the other day, speaking of like you giving off some like ideas you're working on, like Ivan the Faceless. I tweeted off the other day, and I told you about this privately, I think, but I had this idea pop in my head for a comic called Bury Me in Georgia. And well, I mean, I'm sure he does to an extent.
Oh no, so
maybe not. I wish you had more Tourette's, because it'd be much more entertaining being your friend. But
I have Tourette's. 100%.
I do not doubt that,
man. Yeah, I keep it under wraps, but I have dude. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have the twitches. I have it gets really bad when I'm watching like movies for some reason. I go into full like going crazy kind of deal. I don't know. It's bad, and my wife thinks it's. I know I'm like over there doing that, but no, I straight up do, man. Yeah, it's all the medication I was on as a kid.
Yep, we love you anyway. But anyway, I had this idea and I was super tired, or I was super sick. I was feeling like crap, and so I took a NyQuil, and I was laying in bed, and as I'm laying in bed, I had this idea for a comic. And right as I was like, huh, I went, and I was so close to falling asleep that I started like the NyQuil hit, and I literally went no, and I like grabbed my phone real fast because like I'm gonna forget this. So I started feverishly just typing down some random idea for a comic book before I passed out. I think I got it all out, but it's definitely like a amalgamation of just nonsense in my notepad. And I'm like, I was drunk when I wrote this, so I ended up kind of like zoning in on it, but I had this idea for a comic book that I really want to do now called Bury Me in Georgia. But I don't want to give a lot away, but it has a vibe of like Doctor Who. So each issue, let's just say, it won't be a spoiler per se, but each issue ends with the main protagonist dying and then being resurrected due to a curse. So
that's
and I'm thinking about setting it in like the 1920s or 30s, and like in Georgia. So anyway, I'm really excited about that comic. So I was thinking about it. I wrote a little bit of it the other day just to kind of get a vibe or a feel for it. But dude, I don't know.
I have too much
one
stuff
day, right?
written right now.
Yeah, for real.
I have so
One
much
day.
stuff written.
All right. Hopefully Ben hasn't fallen asleep.
Been there, done that.
Because he's over in the UK.
The yuck. Yuck.
And I think it's 1:30 a.m. there.
That's rough.
I know. I told him I was
should I show some? I'm gonna show.
Yeah, show some stuff while we wait. We're gonna wait for Ben to jump on.
I'll show you some stuff that nobody's ever seen. And it's from Ivan the Faceless and stuff that
Ben's here.
We were working on in the back end. Been there. Look, been there.
Ben's here. Hold on, Ben.
He's right there.
But we'll bring you in a second. Do you want to do your Ivan the Faceless, or you want to bring him in? I don't want him waiting. It's 1:30.
Yeah, no, bring him in, bro.
I feel rude. Ivan the Faceless can wait. All right, everybody, introducing Benjamin Blogs. Come on in. Hey, there he is.
How's it going, guys?
What's up, man?
Dude, his voice is beautiful for radio. That's not a dig at your face. I'm just saying his voice is great for it. I remember anyway, this is Benjamin. I was on his podcast not that long ago, and he interviewed me. And the first thing I thought was like, I want to fall asleep just listening to this guy's voice.
Sweet. I appreciate that.
It's perfect for podcasting. It's great.
Works for me.
Yeah. So this is Benjamin. Go ahead and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Yep. So as you said, Benjamin, I go by Ben more often. My screen name I've put on the bottom here, Benjamin Blogs. If you want to follow me anywhere, that is obviously where it's at. As Chris has said, obviously I kind of like run a podcast. I've also written comic books. I'm currently writing comic books for an event organization that runs like Comic Cons here in the UK. Aside from that, I write at Screen Rant. I write about movies and entertainment and film, and you guys were talking about Doctor Who. Literally just finishing up an article in the last like 2 hours about Doctor Who. So just whatever kind of goes.
Cool.
I do.
You get your hands in a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think it's a problem. My wife definitely comes to me a lot, and she's like, "You're like overloading yourself again," and I'm like, "Okay, cool. Maybe I need to cut things out."
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have that struggle. I can't like switch off. I need a lot of things to kind of keep me engaged, and so yeah. I've got a lot going on. But yeah, if I look like I'm about to fall asleep, as you mentioned, it's 1:30. Literally all the rest of my family is asleep in the house right now, so excuse bags under my eyes or anything like that. But yeah, hopefully I don't drop off while we're here.
All good. I appreciate you jumping on this late. I wanted to get Ben on because I was the pilot episode, I guess you would call it, for his podcast, the Indie Heroes Journey, which was a lot of fun. I will say I've done a handful of podcasts and a handful of interviews so far. no dig at everyone else, but yours was by far the best, I would say, just because you're a great interviewer. A lot of good questions, really made me think, and it was just a fun talk. So I would highly recommend checking that out. It's on Spotify. I don't know if it's anywhere else, probably Apple Podcasts or anything.
Yeah, it's pretty much everywhere.
Pretty much everywhere. But I've been talking with Ben for a while now. He's got his hands in a lot of pots. I was like, just like us. There's been a handful of things where we've had to, John and I both have actually had to back out of a couple of things recently because of the very same reason. Our wives were like, this is too much. So we definitely feel you there.
Voice of reason.
One reason I wanted to have you on, though, was to talk about some of the things you're doing. And also, we could talk about our conversation we had on the phone. If you're interested, we had like a private conversation. He called me not that long ago just to kind of pick my brain, which was really fun because it was, like you said, I need a lot to engage. And like you calling me, dude, I couldn't stop thinking about it for like 4 days. I'm just thinking of like other things you could do. And I'm like, I didn't want to be annoying and text you back and everything. But we had a long conversation about a cool venture you're considering. I talk too much. Go ahead and tell everyone about it. Maybe pitch it. Tell us any updates.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first things first, if you do have ideas, if there's anything else, throw it at me, man. Like, I'm super down. Don't worry about texting back and letting me know about things. But essentially, what we were talking about, I won't put any kind of like title on it right now. Obviously, we kind of like went into names and different things like that. We can kind of play around with that and adjust it as it goes forward. But what I've found over the last couple of years, being involved in indie comic books and getting to know more indie comic book creators and people that are all over the place making these books, these incredible stories that are really unique, have something special that is just not commonly found in your Marvel comics or your DC comics. Not to say that they're not good. Like, I'm a big fan of Marvel and DC, but there is something that is distinctly different about indie comic books. Any indie comic book that you pick up could have the wildest, wackiest, crazy stories going on, or they could have things that are like really subtle, or they're not really in the typical superhero genre, or it's just like a really cool one shot, or maybe it's a really cool 6-issue series. Like, there's so much variety. Things are limitless in indie comic books.
Yeah.
But one thing that is just a huge struggle is putting the people that want to read those books and the people that make those books into the same space, or giving them something that they can kind of connect on and find each other. Obviously, there's platforms like Kickstarter where indie comic book creators work their butts off and try and get an audience and try and get to 100, 200, 1,000 people, whatever. And they're lucky if they succeed in that. Most of the time, people won't. A lot of the time, they don't really know what they're doing with a platform like that, or I don't know. Sometimes maybe it's luck of the draw. They just don't really end up achieving the goal that they've quite set for themselves. And it just turns out tougher than it needed to be. Other than that, indie comic book creators, sometimes like yourselves, you're going out to conventions, you're going out to different things. I know you, Chris, have some like of your comics featured in a local comic book shop. They have like a couple of copies of it. All those things are amazing things, are wonderful things, but there's constantly like massive barriers to entry for whoever is trying to read those books or trying to find them. Like, they have to pay for the price of a Comic-Con ticket, and then they have to find your table in amongst hundreds of other tables. Or if they're on Kickstarter, they're scrolling and trawling through just a crap load of other stories because there is a huge amount of them.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So essentially what I'm trying to do and what I'm working towards right now. So right now I'm still in the stage of contacting different comic book creators, seeing people that may want to be featured or may want to kind of like use this delivery method to kind of achieve something else. So the concept is essentially a subscription box, a delivery box, which will put people who are interested in the comic books will give them a regular subscription. So whether it be twice a month or once a month or whatever it is, they will get a package come out to them with 3, 4, 5 comic books, whatever it is. And they will be able to have those comic books physically in their hands and read those comics. In the box, it will also include like a little bit of detail about the actual authors or creators or whoever is behind the book. and then also links to wherever the work may be found right now. So if they have a Kickstarter that's live right now, cool, let's line that up and make sure that people can find your story. Is issue 1 in this pack? If you have issue 2 launching and going live, like Artificial issue 2, you have that kind of like marketed in the book. So it's just like labeled, okay, this is where you go and you can find that Kickstarter.
Right.
And hopefully with a bit of traction, with a bit of a following that kind of like gets into that, instead of everyone having to constantly fight and scramble for space. Obviously, this is a limited method, right? Like it's not gonna change the game in a massive way. It's not gonna suddenly be, okay, hundreds of indie comic books creators are suddenly found. But it gives them a little bit of a fighting chance, hopefully. And if it can build up and have traction, it will also put money in their pockets, because instead of going through that massive fight at the beginning where it's like, I'm trying to find 1 follower, 2 followers, 3 people to buy my comic book, 10 people to buy my comic book, immediately you can kind of sign up to the service, and however many subscribers are there at the minute, we can be like, okay, cool, your book is going to go out to 50, 100, 500 people. Like, that's done deal. We have these subscribers ready to go. Your book's going to go to them, and we can pay them for the comic book. We can obviously, you're taking the subscription fee from the subscribers. I feel like it's a bit of a win-win, because there are people that are genuinely interested in trying to find these things and they don't know how, and then there's people creating books and suck at marketing. That's a struggle. If you want to be someone that's wearing all the hats and doing lettering and doing writing and doing art and doing everything, what an added pressure to just add in a marketing expert on top of all that. Like, it just doesn't make sense,
Yeah, no, I love the idea. You called me and just kind of bounced some thoughts off me, and it was a fun conversation. Went for a while, and I'm a pretty big idea man. So like, it's because I just can't turn my brain off. So like, when you hit me with this idea, I was like, okay. So we went over, and this is not because there's a lot of ideas out there and concepts that are not saying this is, but there are a lot of like pie in the sky things.
Yeah.
Like, I would love this service or this idea or but then when you get into the like logistics of it, it's not gonna happen. It's just not, and that's probably why it hasn't been created yet. That's kind of the idea. But with this, we were talking about it. We were really diving into the nitty gritty of it, as in like, okay, just so everyone knows that how serious of a conversation and how much it's a possibility to actually have happen. But we were talking about, okay, you need to have control over printing, which means everyone would just send you a digital PDF. You would handle printing in-house. That way everything is completely uniform across the board. I was like, that's just a requirement of the service. There's just a ton of things that we were going over just to make it as streamlined as possible. And we were even talking about, like, before you get started, try and make sure you have a year's worth of indie comics set up. That was just a recommendation I had just out of the top of my head. I was like, maybe that would make sense. It's kind of like, make sure that you have at least 12 months of 4 comics per month. And I was like, and obviously I threw Artificial into I was like, that can be month 1, have it. So there were a lot of things we were talking about. It was a really good conversation. And we were even talking about scaling, and how, like, if indie creators are worried about the idea of, hey, you're getting on the ground floor of this, month 1, we have 10 subscribers. So you're going to get 10 people. It's like, that's just what it is. There's not really a way to get around that. But when scaling's involved, obviously you have to have decent product in the beginning that just doesn't get as much traction as everyone else. That's just what it is. And I'm totally willing to put mine in there with that, because then month 12 hits, and hopefully you got 100 subscribers by then. You grew a bit, and then whoever's in that 12-month box, they're hitting 100 people. So like, we're about trying to make sure that's mitigated a bit and people understand, make sure there's fair payout to the indie creators. But I love the idea, though. I think it's really cool, because every month it would be, I don't know if you touched on this when you were talking, but every month would be a indie creators issue 1 of a series. So it wouldn't be, you would rarely, if ever, probably never, unless maybe like a specialty box, which would be cool, like the sequel box, which would happen once a year if anyone has come out with sequels. That might be cool. But otherwise, the whole goal is to get people invested into a story by someone's issue 1, and then it's on them to kind of follow from there, right? That's kind of the idea.
Yeah, definitely. It's a discovery service. So it is something to kind of like open the doors, hopefully, and get some new followers, get a new audience kind of like attracted to your product and looking at your product.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's pretty cool. And then another thing something that just popped in my head right now is, like you mentioned, everyone would have a little snippet about each creator. Something John and I, as BentBox, since we kind of merged that idea, we just created a single link tree. And that the reason why I really do like that is we have kind of like I'm still here, hold on, just taking me a minute. There it is. We just have a rotating business card, which is kind of nice. We never really have to update this because it just goes to a link tree that we can just update whenever. So if we have a new Kickstarter out, link tree gets updated. You still have our business card, doesn't really matter. You don't need the news. You don't need, anything. You don't need the link to the Kickstarter. You just have the link tree. So that could be another, not necessarily a requirement, but just something that you say, hey, each creator, create a link tree. That's the easiest way for people to stay in touch. If they still have your little card from the BentBox, I did it. I'm sorry. I pitched Ben on the idea of calling it the BentBox.
Maybe.
I was really trying to get in there. I was trying to get in there. He's got a good name for it already. I know he didn't say it yet, but I think that's a good name too, what he's got. But anyway, that would be a cool concept. Is like, hey, if you're a creator who wants to be involved and you don't have a link tree, highly recommend. You'll get the most out of it, because anyone who follows you won't need to keep tabs over different links. It's just like they have your little card. And then they can, every time you have a new Kickstarter, they can just reference that or something, and it'll always be there as long as they update. That's on them to update it, but
yeah. I've used Linktree for years. Like, it is a great service. It's a really solid thing to be able to just update things. And then, like you said, if you have a business card and it has the link, because that's a terrible thing, right? Like, if you make a business card and it has an old email address or an old phone number and then it disappears, and it's like, that sucks.
Dude, I still have
in the past.
I still have my old Instagram on the back of my truck, and I can't get it off my window. So I just drive around, and I'm like, all these people are probably going on Instagram. They're like, dude, this guy doesn't even exist. It's like, so you gotta update your stuff, man.
You need to update that to the link tree, John.
I was thinking about what you were saying with the boxes, like the subscription box. Like, it's a really cool idea. The thing that draws me into it the most is the mystery of what you can get. So there are like you said, indie comics vary, right? I might get a book in there I don't like, right? But I might get a book in there I never heard of that I'm now fully invested in. You just don't know. There are companies that do this. For instance, Scout Comics has their own subscription-based box, but they have it more set up for Scout Comics is indie, or at least they say they're indie. They're more of a big publishing house, indie now
at this point.
And so for me, like, I can go in their shop, or I can go online and I can order any of their books. But what I was seeing is I actually looked them up, and I looked at a review, and I'll read the review. And this is what I don't want. And I think that Chris actually hit this on the head when he said, try to get people in with issue 1, and then you're not really going to get like an issue 2, 3, 4, or 5, right, of something you don't even know about. So it says, this is just one of the reviews, not really useful except as a grab bag. And it says, not really useful except as a grab bag. If you pre-order from a subscription service, you cannot use this as a reliable substitute, since you cannot avoid sometimes duplicating your existing service. Seems mostly filled with stuff lying around at the end of the month, and even older issues, reprints, or gussied up reissues of what you already have. Think of it as a grab bag and you'll be happy. So people getting like, issues 3 and 4, they're like, well, I've never seen 1, 2, I'm like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't want to read it. They're getting stuff that like looks like it's been laying around the shop. I love the idea of real deep indie creators that aren't known, that get to come into this and be like, hey, I want to be a part of this. I want to get my name out there. And as a consumer, I actually have more appeal to buying that than I would something from like an indie publisher, like Scout, just because and theirs are $33, I believe, for their box. $33, and I think you get, you get probably roughly 8 to 10 comics. But
Well, see,
like I
the
said,
thing is, that's a lot. That's another thing we were talking about. Is like,
how many?
if you knowing us having the background we do, John, of Kickstarter and funding our own comic, printing it, all the fun stuff, and creating, paying artists, the amount of money that goes into an indie comic is high.
Mm.
So for it to be worth, I agree, that's kind of one thing that we workshopped, Ben and I, when we were talking, is that people, indie comic creators, would just have to be able to view this as a marketing tool. Most importantly, because that way they don't expect this to be like a way to get rich. It's like, oh cool, I got my comic featured in this, so I'm going to get a big payout. It's like, that's not really how this works. So that's the only way to keep the subscription low. Otherwise, if you're trying to like pay out people correctly, a 4 comic box, $50, you know what I mean? Like, by the time you make sure everyone's paid correctly for that, it's just not how that is gonna work. So like, that's what's tricky about it.
Yeah, I mean, for it as well, it's one of the things that I look to Kickstarter to kind of like guide how you might try something like that too. Because if you go on Kickstarter, obviously I'll look on Kickstarter and it gives me pounds. I don't see the exact same thing that you guys do.
Yeah.
But when I go on there, often it is something like maybe $5 for like a digital copy of a comic book. So that's not even, you don't get to have a physical comic book in your hands. You get to support the artist, which is a great thing. And you get to have the digital file. So you get to read the story and you get to kind of engage with it in that way. But at the end of the day, we all know the difference that exists between having a physical comic in your hands and reading a comic book off a screen, right? Like, there is a difference that comes with that. So if you want to get the physical copies, often when it's like issue 1, it will be somewhere around like the $10 mark. I don't know if you guys agree or you see it like at that price.
Between 10 and 15 is the average.
Yeah, and then on top of that, it usually has the shipping fee as well. So usually you're paying 10 to get in there and to get a comic book at the cheaper end, a physical comic book, and then you're paying for a postage fee as well, or whatever the shipping cost is. So with this, you've got 4 of those books all in one. You're paying like a set fee for those 4, and then buying comics by the pound.
Thanks for the good idea there.
Yeah, you're paying for all
Bloody
the
Americans.
comics in one thing and then one shipping fee. So ideally, it should be cheaper to the person who's buying it, the customer, than if they were actually going to Kickstarter and buying 4 individual books.
True. But because then you also, we were talking about the idea of losing out. Like, an indie creator would also have to understand that subscribers to your box more than likely will be taken out of the indie comic crowdfunding pool, if that makes sense. Like, if I subscribe to your box, highly unlikely I'm going to be searching Kickstarter very often. I'm just going to rely on your box, and I'm going to enjoy all the new content that comes. Now, from that point on, once again, since it's a marketing tool, I would be more interested in being like, oh, cool, Artificial 2's coming out. I'm going to go check out the Kickstarter and back it, since I know I'm not going to get it in the box, but I'm still very invested in the story. So that's where it's helpful. But you know, there is that, we even talked about that, where like there might be a hint of hesitation from some people going like, oh, so I'm not going to get $15 on my Kickstarter. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, that is true. You're missing out on a backer potentially.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
An idea for if you were to do like something where you are going to give out like an issue 3 or 4 or whatever, even issue 2, you could, as part of that box, like you said, digital. Yeah, it's different, but you could throw a sticker in there that takes into a digital, right? So they do get that as well before they even read that issue 2. That's a cheap way to do it, right? You know, it's a sticker, throw it in there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, and I'm hopeful that it's something that you can make happen. And I'm always on board to help be on the ground floor of anything. You know, it's exciting and kind of fun, and I'm always here to be an idea board to jump off of. to the point where we were even talking, you're in the UK, so if you're going to get this thing going, more than likely it'd be primarily in the UK as a test run. It'd be hard to kind of get it going in multiple countries. It's a pretty lofty goal.
Yes, it'd be tough. And that's something that we massively talked about, because I think there's another kind of disparity that happens with like I think obviously the Comic-Con scene over in America is huge. Like you go to any kind of town or village or whatever, tons of them have comic conventions.
Tons of villages over here.
Here we have
Primitive over here.
English language, sorry. Over here we literally have, across the whole of the UK, maybe 1 or 2 conventions a month, and that's across the UK. So the UK is England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. Like the whole of that is like 1 or 2 a month, and you're gonna have to go and you're gonna have to pay big money to be able to attend it, and then big money on travel costs, big money on hotel costs. Like getting there is a massive barrier to entry. Like it's just not something that comes around all the time. It's really infrequent. So I think there's a lot more of an audience that probably picks up and reads and is interested in that side of comic books over there. And then we also have a ton of people that love to create comic books here. There are a ton of indie comic book creators in the UK. There's a ton of Kickstarters ran from the UK. And what they find is they tend to have a ton of customers from the US. So when their Kickstarter finishes up, they end up having 100 backers, and 80 of those are in the US, and they have to package them up and send them over and pay all those extra shipping fees. And then it's like, oh, I actually lost money on the Kickstarter, because that's how it tends to go. So if we we discussed kind of like if there were multiple places that we could kind of ship out of and kind of run the operation, because obviously quality is super important, but having it there on the ground makes a lot more sense too. So for us here in the UK, it could be a thing that I can go to my printers and I can say, hey, I'm going to get the issues through here. And then for whoever's in the US, they can go to a printer that they rely on that is going to have quality guaranteed. And then they're able to send that out from there, which is going to cut down costs again. We talked about ways that could affect and kind of change the scene as it goes forward for people that are doing Kickstarters. Potentially, if they wanted to trust us to do their fulfillment and kind of send us the documents.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that. That was kind of a cool idea.
I think that's a great idea. That's something that I've been thinking about ever since. I'm like, man, like that's actually a pretty solid idea. Like wherever you are, if you can do it cheaper from the other side, and then just send
because
it
we
out.
talked about how it'd be cool, because he said he would do basically over in the UK, he would handle that, and he would go to his printer, and then obviously I'm always on board to do whatever. So like I was like, okay, cool, I'll be here in America if we want to work through BentBox, or just me as a mediator, or just like a partner in it to help out. Here will just be the US branch basically, and then we print here. That way whatever goes to the US can just be printed locally, shipped locally, kills shipping costs in half probably from what it would have been if it was all based in the UK.
Massively.
And then so that would just be really neat to do, and it'd be helpful. And then that's what I think led to that idea of, well, it's such a nightmare to have indie comics. There's this novelty idea of like, oh, this guy Ben in UK bought Artificial. Now Artificial, my baby, is across the seas. I was like, that's really cool. But I spent $40 getting it there. You know what I mean? So it's like
shipping,
expensive baby. So
not
is it
for
worth
the
it? Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. So that was a cool idea where we were saying, if we develop, or I have a hard time doing that. If Ben develops this, because he's going to be doing a lot of the groundwork, but if he gets all this going, and then it gets to the point where we can kind of work with him and get something going with US and UK to make it just easy, opening up a fulfillment service sounds like a no-brainer at that point. Basically, just because you have the infrastructure with what you're already doing, and then you just save people a butt ton of costs. That way, if they go, you know what, because there's a lot of people who in America go, I'm gonna do a Kickstarter, and you have that button, US only. It's like, yeah, I ain't doing Australia, UK, nothing. It's like, I can't afford that. Now there's no reason not to, and it opens up your market completely. So it was a great idea. So I'm hopeful that might be something. We have a question. Is shipping more affordable in the UK? I mean, we could probably talk that out because I don't really know.
Yeah, it's hard to know, not knowing the comparisons. You saying that it costs 40 quid to get it over here, or $40 to get it over here, that sounds absolutely insane. I know it's not crazy better, but it is. I don't feel like it's $40 to ship one comic.
There are some instances where, depending on where you ship it, it's extremely expensive. But there are some services here that like kind of cut down on costs. I use something called Ship Easy, or Easy Ship. I can't remember how it's said, but it's actually one of the Kickstarter partners. So I highly recommend that for anyone who needs to do indie comics. But that it was still close to $20 to $25 American dollars to ship it abroad. So that's still more than I'm charging for the comic by double. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. I don't know how that translates to yours.
So if we just talk like domestic for a second, like if we were to ship something domestically here in the UK to somewhere else in the UK, UK is a lot smaller geographically than it is for you guys there in the US. So to get anywhere in the UK, we have a fairly standardized process of like shipping. There's Royal Mail, which is like our standard postal service. And so you can just pay them. Shipping one comic book shouldn't cost you more than £3. £3 probably working out at like $4, maybe a little more dollars.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not crazy money. So I don't know what it's like for you guys.
That's average then.
Domestically.
That's average here, at least through the service I used, all the way to California, which is, that's all the way on the other side of the country. For me, it was around $4.50 or $5. So that's average. So shipping isn't much different there. International though.
Yeah, as soon as you go global, it's a different story, and it's different wherever you ship it to. It does have different channels, different expenses that come with it, and sometimes you're better off finding a courier or like a different service to be able to do stuff. So it just shopping around a lot of the time.
It's probably comparable then. That would be the answer. I think it's just shipping in general is a nightmare. So that's one of the biggest chunks when you're doing a crowdfunder is that.
So thinking about that, I mean, $40 to get it across to the UK, or just send the files over to the UK and then ship it, and it sells. The shipping is 10 times less.
Yeah. The only difference is, and this is a stipulation, is you lose a slight bit of control over the print. Sure. So if you're one of those people who wants, my first comic needs to have good gold foil and satin, sheets. It's like, nah. It's like that's not going to happen. I was like, but if you want to be part of this service, you know what I mean? I think it's worth it. Like, I don't mind the issue 1 as part of your box being a standardized print that matches all others. That's totally fine with me because it's really not about the print. I mean, I like mine. We had ours kind of has like a satin finish on the front. It feels nice. It just does. That said, that's not, the reason I made it. So like, I don't think hopefully that won't be an issue, but that's kind of be the main thing is people, creators are just going to lose a little bit of independence when it comes to printing, but they'll save a butt ton of money in the long run and hopefully open up to a new market. So I think like you said, it's a win-win. Huh?
Yeah. Create a collector's box. If you want to do a special, collector's box with a variant that only they can get through that box. I mean, there you go. And that's their way of getting maybe something way more collectible. Because comics are, it's all about collectibles, right? Other than getting your name out there and get people in your series. So that's one way possibly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we got another. That service sounds awesome. Would be great to be able to guarantee creators that their comic would get into the hands of X amount of people.
Yeah.
Yep, at least 10 people, at least an X. That's my goal. That's our goal, is at least 10. All right, that's pretty much it.
Somewhere.
Yeah, we got to start somewhere. Hey, we'll start with 10. 10 sounds great. But I think that's pretty much it for our time today. I love the idea. I'm glad you were able to join us. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
anyone
Cool.
watching this or future watchers, keep your eye out for that. Definitely go drop Ben a follow on Twitter and Instagram. I think you're on both. Same
Yes.
handle, I believe, right?
I think so. Twitter is definitely Benjamin Blogs. The other one might be Benjamin Blogs 1. I tried contacting the person that had the original, but that doesn't
Just
work
gotta
out.
sue him.
So
All right, fair enough. You can Google him and you'll find him. But he's worth the follow, and big things are coming, hopefully. So
yeah,
look
and
forward to
updates
that.
will be there. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Great to talk. I'm probably gonna go sleep.
I was going to say, man, go
Sounds
get
good.
some sleep, man.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks so much for coming on. We'll see you later.
Cheers, guys.
Take it easy,
Thank
man.
you.
I think I muted him right when he said something. But anyway, bye, Ben. So, what do you think of that idea? Pretty cool.
No, yeah, I do like it.
I think
it's a great
Look,
idea.
crap. I'm just kidding.
No, I think it's a great idea, man. I just think that there's definitely a lot of kinks you're gonna have to work out.
A lot.
But you're kinky, so
I can get kinky.
But I don't know. I think that it's a good idea. You're gonna have to get around. You're gonna have to be trustworthy in the sense of like indie comic creators aren't just gonna send you a file, aren't just gonna send you something to send out, right?
Mhm.
So you're gonna have to maybe even have a legal disclaimer that like nothing is being sold directly, like direct market,
for sure.
that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Especially if you're sending like the actual files, like the original files, to someone so that they can print it across seas and save you money. You're gonna have that dollar transfer eventually. There's a lot involved in that.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's a lot.
yeah.
I mean, it would all be a service through a website. It would just be a portal. Basically, you'd have a creators portal kind of deal.
Yeah.
That you just go on there. That always would handle any kind of monetary differences there, and you just get paid every time your comic goes out to a bundle through a bundle. So, I think it's not as complex as it can be simple. It doesn't need to be super complex. I think if Ben, we're smart about it, Ben does all his research, I think it's definitely a possibility to be something really cool. So, but yeah, like you said, there is definitely a lot to think about, because I even told him, I said from the jump, you're going to need to have a standardization understanding or something that creators would have to understand, that hey, through this service, every comic will be printed at 80-pound cover, 70-pound interior, you know what I mean, whatever you want to do, and you're just be like, this is it, this is our printing, this is that. What do you say, Zig? There's a ton of logistics. I think $30 is probably the max people would be willing to pay once 10 number gets higher. Enough people will be lining up to the book for into rotation. I agree. That's kind of, we didn't mention that, but that was something we were talking about too on our phone call, is cost. As I said, I think we both, Ben and I were talking back and forth, and I think we both kind of landed on 30 as a max. But the thought of that though is like, okay, that needs to be split among the creators. If you have 4 comics and say you give them $5, like the worth of a PDF, that's $20 right there. And then that's just for one box. But then again, there's a lot that's going to go into it to make sure it's fair to the creators. Because even though it is a marketing tool, you're not going to be like, hey, just give us your comics, we're going to make money off it, and maybe you will later. You have to give some back. So yeah, there's maybe the end goal would just be percentage of boxes shipped. You get a kickback on that, not necessarily a flat rate. So anyway, a lot of cool ideas. I'm excited for it, but glad we were able to have Ben on. That's pretty much it though for me. I'm tired.
Not as tired as he was.
Not as tired as he was.
Poor guy, man. That's dedication. Staying up till 1:30 or whatever it was, just to be on this dang stupid stream. It's just like a
dang stupid American stream.
In our villages.
Village. Yep, I got you.
Oh man.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. It's another BentBox in the books. We will see you next week. I think we might have some other guests maybe next week.
Trying.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Otherwise, we'll do another fun Kickstarter review / whatever.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Figure something out.
We'll figure something out. All right, everybody. Good night.
Peace out.
Thanks for